Hey there, cool cats. Michael Beresford here from Open Court for today's Property WOD. I was reading an article during the week from Australian Property Investor magazine, and it was talking about Australians sinking into poverty as rents chew up incomes. Was the title. It's from mid-June. Basically, it was talking about the rental affordability index, and quoting some people from. Or the chief executive actually, executive officer of National Shelter, obviously looking at incomes and rents, what's affordable, what's not, and so forth. And it got me thinking there's some really key points to take out in terms of the successful mindset required to not only get started on your property journey, but to continue your property journey that were relevant to this article. The one line that I will quote from this is Australia's lowest income households, those on around $500 a week, are paying up to 85% of their income on rents. Middle income households are also falling into housing stress as high rents chew up incomes that aren't keeping pace with rising housing costs. It's clear that rental unaffordability is dividing Australia. So just on that, irrespective of what you earn, the really important thing is to be realistic about what you are spending on living expenses, okay? Living within your means and making the odd sacrifice to be able to get started. I can relate to this. My first job wasn't on much more than that $500 a week, but through a disciplined savings plan and patience over time, was able to get to a point where I could scratch and scrape to get together my first deposit, okay? I know people. For those of you that are Melbourne based, a friend of mine actually bought a property in Albert Park, this is years ago, for $300,000 when he was just starting his second job, so he was late 20s, and it took a lot of scratching and scraping and two friends living with him in the 2-bedroom house to be able to actually meet that mortgage. Now, it was really interesting because when he sold the property about 4 years ago for approximately 1.5 million, it's amazing all the comments. Oh, Matt, you're so lucky. You sold a property in Albert Park, 1.5 million, that must have just been so great for you. What they don't see are the sacrifice, the delayed gratification, and the patience that it took to achieve that outcome. Sacrifice, in that a lot of money was going to hold an asset that he knew over time would really set him up. Okay? Delayed gratification, if you've got two mates living with you and you're scratching and scraping to pay a mortgage, then there's definitely some prioritisation that's going on there with respect to where you spend your money. I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't have been paying a car lease, well, I know for sure, that he wasn't paying a car lease on an expensive car. He wasn't going out and eating out at restaurants 3 or 4 nights a week. And most importantly, he was working hard, putting one foot in front of the other, not expecting a result overnight, but knowing that it would pay off in the long run. Okay, so it's amazing and it's really hard. We talk to a lot of budding investors in their late teens, early 20s, even mid 20s, especially through some of the sporting clubs that we work with and the like, where they're finding challenges, thinking they're really motivated, but wondering how they can start, what can they do to get started. And this is what we talk to them about, because the challenge that we have today, especially for the young generation, is there's a social acceptance around what's cool. You've got to have this phone, you've got to have all of these fashion items, label clothing, brand this, brand that, you want to travel, all these things that can use disposable income, when really it takes a bit of bucking the trend, it takes some delayed gratification, some sacrifice, and a commitment over time to be willing to do whatever's required to achieve that goal. Okay, so all of you young investors out there, stick with it, be disciplined, have some sacrifices, don't spend too much money on the stuff that you shouldn't be, live within your means and know that in the long term, it'll really pay off. We'll see you next time.